Thank you, Deputy Jonathan O'Brien. You have 9 minutes exactly.
Thanks, Deputy Controller. Taoiseach, to many, the contents of the Moriarty report will be seen as just another confirmation that politics in this state has been corrupted by shady deals, golden circles and brown envelopes. It shines yet another spotlight on the cosy relationship between big business and politics. And what it reveals is not pretty, even if it is predictable. In recent days, the findings of the tribunal have been partially obscured under a torrent of misinformation, deliberate distraction and spin, much of it emanating from Deputy Lowry and Denis O'Brien. So let's remind ourselves exactly what the issue is. In 1996, the state awarded its second mobile phone licence to a consortium led by ironic, isn't it? I tell you, Denis O'Brien has some power. At the time, this was an incredibly valuable state asset, seen by many as literally a licence to print money. And within 4 years, it was sold for a profit of 250 million. And this is what the tribunal has found. During the period of competition for the mobile phone licence and subsequent licensing negotiations, March 95 to June 96, Denis O'Brien's companies supported 14 Fine Gael fundraising events. In the same period, Denis O'Brien made a further donation of 50,000 to Fine Gael through his partner company, Telenor. In the course of the competition and negotiations, the then Minister for Communications, Michael Lowry, passed vital information about the licensing process to Denis O'Brien and used his influence to slant the awards process in favour of ESAT Digiphone. And within months of the contract with ESAT being signed off, a 6-figure sum was transferred from Denis O'Brien to Michael Lowry through a series of offshore accounts. The tribunal and its findings have been the object of a sustained media campaign by Michael Lowry and Denis O'Brien to point out what, in their analysis, is only the opinions of one man. And this will come as no surprise to people outside of this chamber. We're talking about wealthy and powerful men who stand accused of grave wrongdoing. And it is not hard to understand why they would deny the charges of political and financial corruption levelled at them by this report. It is, however, much harder to understand why Mr. Justice Moriarty, a reputable judge who has presided over an exhaustive investigation of this matter, would make findings against them without good reason. The Moriarty report has been 14 years in preparation. It is a detailed and lengthy document, and it is based on substantial evidence, statements by former ministers and numerous civil servants. And I see no reason why we should believe Michael Lowry or Denis O'Brien's assertion over Justice Moriarty's. And Deputy Lowry will get his opportunity to explain the dealings outlined in the Moriarty report later this evening. And following that, people of this country will make up their minds who they think is more credible. Having said all that, it is important that we do not let ourselves be distracted from the main issue here. The issue is that at the time when one of our nation's most valuable assets was being sold, a senior member of Fine Gael, a fundraiser, the then Minister for Communications, and a Fine Gael-led government stand accused of manipulating the awarding of said asset, which resulted in personal financial gain. The issue is that Fine Gael, once again, as my colleague Deputy Ferris points out, wants to repeat history and sell off state assets again, a case of déjà vu. The issue is that Fine Gael accepted over a dozen donations from Mr. Denis O'Brien and his companies during the period when they were competing for the mobile phone licence. And we are talking about a government minister enabling a clique of businessmen to massively enrich themselves at the expense of the Irish people. We are talking about the rotten relationship between Irish business and Irish politics, a relationship whose fruits can be seen today in NAMA, the Bank Guarantee Scheme and the IMF bailout. But perhaps the most shocking thing about this report is actually how little people are shocked. They have seen it all before, and many outside and within this chamber fear we will see it again. And Deputy Lowry, in the eyes of many people, has now taken his place in the rogues gallery that is already well populated with household names from this chamber. His mugshot hangs there alongside those of Charles Haughey, Ray Burke, Liam Lawler and Bertie Ahern. And while the public have become used to allegations of undercover payments and dodgy dealings by politicians of the establishment, the public attitude has turned from outrage to cynicism. Politics should be an honourable profession. To represent the Irish people, to be entrusted to take critical decisions about the future of our country, should be a proud task and one that should be undertaken with humility, honesty and with a determination to put the national interest first at all times. Unfortunately, a number of senior politicians have seen it otherwise. They saw it as a chance to profit from public office. And this is a tragedy, not just for Ireland, but for the many decent and honest politicians of all parties who do their best to serve the people who elect them. It is bad for our democracy and it is bad for our country. It erodes people's trust in our institutions and it makes capable people more reluctant to serve in politics. The Moriarty report should be taken as a clarion call to make politics honourable again. It should become a historical turning point, the moment when we committed ourselves as a nation to root out corruption once and for all. It should be taken as the moment when we began a comprehensive reform of our political system. We cannot afford to brush it under the carpet. We cannot afford to dismiss it as yesterday's news, because the corrupt nexus of business and politics that it has uncovered remains in place. And there will be more Michael Lowrys and Ray Burkes and Bertie Ahern's, and there will be more tribunals in the future if this government does not act on the findings within the report. So what must be done, Taoiseach? People must be held accountable, and those with questions to answer, including yourself, should answer them. No more hiding behind political rhetoric. This government should move immediately to ban corporate donations, and the requirement that donations over a certain limit need only be declared should be done away with. The Minister for Justice needs to bring forward new legislation on political corruption and white-collar crime as a matter of urgency, and stiffer limits must be imposed on spending during elections. The culture of political expenses and ministerial perks must be reformed, and the structural reform of the political system needs to take place. Thank you. This House needs to be able to hold the government properly to account. But the change needs to go deeper than that. We need to change the whole culture of Irish politics. The blatant corruption uncovered by Moriarty is only the tip of the iceberg. The brown envelopes and offshore accounts feed into a wider culture of political deference to business. And political corruption is not a victimless crime. When powerful businessmen are able to subvert the political process in their own interest, the public interests suffer, and real people pay the price. And we've seen the consequences of that in the current economic crisis, which has effectively bankrupted this state. We have seen what happens when we run our country according to the calculations scribbled on the back of a brown envelope. Our political system is broken, not just because it is open to corruption, but because it has brought the country to the brink of ruin. And in conclusion, we need to end this political homage to big business, and we need to end the culture of favours that has grown out of it. Political decisions must be made openly and transparently. Every Irish citizen must be able to participate in making them. We need a culture of openness, a culture of civic duty, we need a culture of patriotism. In essence, we need a culture of republicanism, real republicanism.